News Trader Expert is one of the best experts for hunting sensitive and profitable positions in the market when influential news is published. This expert works on the basis of positioning at the time of news and shock to the market. Before explaining the expert, let's take a look at its input window. As you can see in the input window, stop loss, take profit, and trailing stop can be adjusted in this here. These values can be entered by you. Lot volume, you can enter the trading volume manually in lots in this section. If you want the expert to estimate the appropriate volume of the trade according to account's liquidity and the risk allowed, enter the value of 0 here. Risk, you can specify from 0.01 to 100% of the permissible risk for each transaction in this section. Lot multiply by. If it is set to 0, it will be inactive, but if it is set to 1, when the market moves in a direction that causes a loss, it tries to compensate for the loss by taking other positions. This increases the risk of trading when the market is highly volatile. Gap during news. In this section we enter the acceptable gap amount in points. If it is obtained, the expert will take a position. Some news may create very small gaps. Having a filter of the minimum gap required for positioning allows the expert to ignore small movements. Gap for new order. If the gap we entered in the previous section occurs, in this section we determine exactly where to position it. If we enter 0, it will take the position exactly at the same point after the gap. You can also enter higher values. Max spread during news. In this section we determine the allowable spread. If the broker offers a higher spread than you entered here at that moment, the expert will not take a position. Max time during news. In this section we specify how long after the news, the expert will look for the conditions to get the position. Proceed with opening new orders. If we want the expert to take multiple positions during some news, we set the value of this field to true. Orders step. If the previous field value is set to true, in this section we specify how far from the previous gap, the expert is allowed to take a position. Other fields are related to the end appearance settings of expert buttons and fonts. Well, we apply the settings and see that the expert buttons appear in the corner of the chart. The color scheme of effective and low impact news is different, and the expert acts automatically at the time of the news. You can see the news ahead here. You can set the expert to look for short, long or both sides positioning for each news. You can also specify which news the expert is allowed to take a position. To download News Trader Expert, refer to Frustrader.com website and download and use the expert after registering.